Good day, everybody. We have written this code last time, which allows us to add products into our database. So I'm going to show to you how exactly it is behaving. My server is on right now. Make sure server is on, and then you can read your products. So these are my products right now from 1 to 8. However, if you notice, there is one empty product over here, 700, because it was submitted. There was nothing filled up in the form. So let's go to the form and see what's the problem and how to resolve that. So I'm going to add product form. Let's make sure what the name of the form was. It was add product underscore form, add underscore product underscore form dot php. Now the problem is you want to be able to validate these inputs: product description, price, stock level. You want to be able to validate these inputs, so when you click submit, it doesn't automatically gets added, because that's wrong. It shouldn't allow you to add. So if you go and read, you will see wrong product has been, meaning an invalid product had been inserted. You see 700, it doesn't have any description, it doesn't have any price, it doesn't have any quantity, so it shouldn't have been submitted in the first place. So how to do validation, which actually allows us to validate the data entered by the user before actually going and inserting into our database, because we don't want to populate our database with wrong or incorrect data. So let's get back to brackets or any other HTML or PHP editor that you may have. First thing you want to do is, if you see the input type is submit, it's not a button. Submit, what does submit do? Submit do it submits the form data, this form data, the description, pricing, stock level, to the server. And what's the server? This is the server. Action is equal to add underscore product 2.php. So for this form, this is the server. It is submitting the information to this server, add underscore product 2.php. So you don't want to submit this data to the server unless it is validated. So one simple form of validation excuse me, is to have these as a required. So this is becoming required, the product description becomes required, the price becomes required, product quantity becomes required. So these are input type, input type, input type. All of these become required, and then I can do the submission. So let me just refresh this and try to submit this again, and say no, you cannot submit this until you fill this out. So an empty field is an invalid field, so I can't really actually submit this. So let's change this to 7s. I don't know, let's call this diamond prices. Let's call this 4,000 stock level is, because it's very expensive, you don't have too much stock, and it's 10. But let's say I leave this blank, so it will come back to me, say no, I'm sorry, please fill out this field. And you say okay, now I fill out this field and I submit. So that's a very simple form of validation. And now when you go back to the read products, you should be able to read iPhone 7s Diamond 4010 also. Now let's go and see what else we can do in validation. It's not just empty. What we also want to do is we want to validate. For example, the price should also not be uh, the price should also not be empty, or it should not also be, yeah, it is checking empty anyway, but it should also not be greater than 10,000. For example, we don't have any phone which is greater than 10,000 dirhams. So let's do that validation. Firstly, what you need to do is to make sure that you have JavaScript imported over here, so that our my scripts JavaScript library is imported. So let's type that script src is my scripts .js. Okay, just a second. Yeah, so we want to look at JavaScript, and then we close this, and we also close the script stack. So that's my JavaScript. Now within this JavaScript, we want to invoke some function. We change this type from submit to button. We say, or you can just press control space here to see the options, so you don't make any spelling mistakes. Name is equal to button. And now note what happens here. When I refresh this, the submit is gone, because name is equal to add product doesn't actually is recognized by HTML when the type is button. Value is equal to add products, so value is recognized by HTML, so now it is there. But when I press this, nothing happens because there is no JavaScript I've linked it with. I need to link it with JavaScript function. So I'll say on click is, sorry, on click, this one is equal to, now I want to do validate and submit. So I'll say validate product, and it's a function. Okay, so I'm going to create this function here now, validate product, and let's go to my scripts.js that I have here, my scripts.js. I'm gonna add a function here called function, and no, not this, validate product. It should be exactly the same name. So you may also want to copy this so you are not making any spelling mistakes. Exactly the same name, yes, start and end. And what you want to do, first of all, you want to, let's say we want to validate the price. Let's say var price is equal to, now we want to pick up the value which the user has typed. So there are two options. One option is that you do document.getElement.id, and you give it id here, input type name is equal to product price, and you can give it the same id. You can say id is equal to product underscore price. This is one option. And document.getElement by id product underscore price dot value, this is one option which we have seen before also in my scripts, when we have written previous scripts, uh, like this, get document or get element by id, and the brackets and single quotes you write here product underscore price and dot value. Now this is for changing inner text of the div, so we don't go there. Now there's another option which I've also shown to you. I'm going to use that now in my scripts. I'm going to use the form name. So let's give form, let's say name is equal to product details, and I save it, product details, and I copy this also, and I go there and I say in my myscripts.js, document dot form name. So this is the form name dot product underscore price. So this is the product underscore price id I have, or name I have, product underscore price. It's better to give both name and id and give them same values. Dot value, so I read its value, and let's just alert and display that I read its value. And I say price is plus, you append or you add into the string by having closing the string and then adding it by plus. So what we want to do is we refresh this, and now the on click should be working because we have on click here. On click goes to validate product. Where is validate product? It's under myscript.js. What is myscript.js doing here? It has validate product function which is actually reading from the form and displaying here. Okay, so I just refresh that and I say there is some product description. Let's say iPhone 7, and I say refurbished, meaning from factory, and I say the price is 2000 and stock level is whatever, and I say add product. So it is displaying from the JavaScript whatever I've written. Okay, and now I don't really want to display it only, I really want to see if it's more than 10,000 dirhams. We don't want to submit this, so I'll say if price is greater than 10,000, you say alert, and I say please enter price below 10,000, because above 10,000 we don't have any phone, so we don't want the user to key in 1 million or 10 million, etc. Else, okay, this is one simple form of validation. We're only checking this. If the price is over 10,000, you show a message. Otherwise, you do this document dot product. It should be exactly this name, which is the form name, dot submit. So you submit the form. Okay, so let's do that. Refresh, and I'm gonna say iPhone 7 refurbished. Remember that one didn't get added because there was an error. It says because we did not submit, because we just only we only showed alert, we did not submit. So we can also verify this by read products.php, and you saw 7s diamond. The refurbished will go now, but let's just try our validation is working. Let's say I write 15,000 or 150,000, stock level is whatever, add product. I should get this alert now, please enter price below 10,000. That's right. So I say 15,000, yes, that's right, but what about 1,500? That makes sense. Add product, and it goes in. So let's read product again. Yeah, iPhone 7 refurbished 1523. Okay, so now there's another issue here. On some browsers what happens is the cache is not validated. When you're modifying your JavaScript, you see the JavaScript, the browser doesn't pick it up. You always see the old results. So it's better to permanently add one thing in your import. See here, you add this. I've copied this to my clipboard. I hope it's still there. Okay, no, it's not there. So let me just show this to you, what really actually happens. You see, your JavaScript is there for the library is imported, and it is there for another like 24 hours, 30 hours. It's not updated. But if you write here in this, in this source, that your version is going to be expired in like 1 second, or is only valid up till now, then it will be updated every time you refresh your JavaScript, your HTML page, sorry. Your JavaScript will always be updated. So what you do is you type here, pass here uh, a variable which is called version, and within PHP tags, opening and closing, what you do is you say is equal to date time dot now dot text dot to string. This is a function. What this says is that this is my JavaScript, and I'm going to be updating it each second. So this JavaScript, whenever you load your page, is going to be valid only with your which with that session when you're filling up the form. After that, it's going to be expired, and if you refresh your page, it will refresh your JavaScript also. Otherwise, whatever changes you make in JavaScripts here, on some browsers it is not refreshed. The changes you don't see there. So make sure that if you add this, if you're having that problem, then if you add this, then that problem will be solved. So let's just refresh this to make sure this is working. um, Product description, if I make any changes here, I go to my scripts.js, and I just disable this. Even if my price is less than 1,000, it won't get submitted. That's what I wanted to do to make sure my JavaScript is refreshed. So product description, I say iPhone 8, maybe I'm being futuristic. Price, it's a really high price. Enterprise below 10,000, I say okay, 44, 34. It gets submitted. Just a second please, I am having a phone call. Hello. Okay, so this is the problem I want to avoid. I don't want to be submitting this. So you see, I said, let me just save this. I save this, and if price is more than 10,000, alert. Else, don't submit. In any case, don't submit. This is what I want to do, and that's why I added this tag over here. MyScripts.js !version, and let's check this is connect. Mark version, opening ending tag, date time dot now dot ticks dot to string. Yeah, okay, that's correct. Probably I didn't save my scripts. I did. Let's just enter save all. Okay, I'm gonna go back here. Okay, and save 5, maybe 7.5, whatever, and 1,000 stock level is whatever, and I say add product. Now it shouldn't go, but yeah, that's correct. So maybe I didn't save it. So see, now even if the form is correct, it's not going. Why? Because I just made a small change in my JavaScript. I don't just submit it. Now normally some browsers don't pick up changes. If you want those changes to be picked up continuously as you're making changes in the JavaScript, then you make sure you add this line. So version is this version. It was valid only for uh, Thank you. Appreciate it. Only for now, meaning this date, this time, this second. So the next time I refresh, it should be refreshed. That's what it means. Okay, so now we saw there's some default validation available in HTML, which is if I put in over here required attribute within the input tag and required here and the required here also in one or all of these, it will the JavaScript will not allow it to be submitted if I use the button tag. However, using the submit button, excuse me, if I use required, it'll only work if you have submit over here. But we also need custom validation. We don't need this only this default validation. We also need the custom validation, so that we think that if the product price is more than 10,000, we shouldn't be allowed to submit. Then we actually need to change this input type from submit to button, which is now button. But when you have this button, this required will not work, so you need to have the submit type over here. So we have done pretty good work up till now, but we can use only required when you have input type submit. But if you have input type button, you can do custom validation, which we are doing now, validate product. So we want to be able to combine this. So let me just explain here again what I need, what I am trying to explain here. Just a second. Yeah, add new product. So let's say if I leave this empty and if I make this more than 10,000, it is like 233,000. So because I changed this from input type submit to button, this required and this required is not seen anymore. You see, if I press add product, let me just refresh this. Yeah, if I just press add product, it doesn't go there and check that this is actually empty, because I changed the input type submit to input type button. It only checks this price, because that's the only form validation I have in my validate product script. So we want to be able to combine this. So how do we combine this? Actually, there's a very quick and neat way to do that. So I actually change this back to input type submit, and this on click is what I place here. So when the product details is being submitted, the form is being submitted to this URL, that's when I check if it is valid or no. So it's still input type submit, and there is no on click function here. The on click function is here. Okay, and now if it is the same function, it should be able to communicate whether the validation was true or false, validation was successful or unsuccessful. So I change this to a return and do the slight change in my scripts. What I do is, let me just show this to you. I say if the price is greater than 10,000, then you alert please enter the price below 10,000, and also return false, so that the form doesn't do the submission to the server. But if this is not greater than 10,000, which is implying that the price is less than 10,000, then I'm okay. That's a simple form of validation I've just done, and I say return true, meaning you can now go ahead and submit this form to the server. So if it returns true, it will do the submission to the add product 2.php, as well as this default validation will be performed. This is required, and then the submit button will submit. But before submission, it will check on click, and I'm just gonna change this to on submit. Sorry, on submit. Yeah, this one is better. Instead of on click, we need on submit over here, but the same function which actually goes and checks that this is true or false. If it is true, it will go ahead and submit to add product 2.php. If it's false, then it will stop here, show the alert, and stop the submission. So let's test that out. I'm gonna go here and just refresh this. Product description is let's say iPhone 7.5, and I submit. You see, it says please fill out this form, and I say okay, I'll fill this to 50,000. It says fill out this input type in the form. I'll say 10, and now when I submit, it should not submit. It should actually pause me here, please enter bill price below 10,000, and it's not submitted. But as soon as it becomes less than 10,000, anything which is acceptable, it'll go and submit. So let's read this, and you see it's gone in. Okay, thank you very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed.